Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow and I'm back with another video. Today's topic, CERN. What in the world is going on at CERN? So we're going to do a quick little behind the veil energy read of what's been going on at CERN since 2012. Now this is a video that I actually wasn't sure that I was going to end up doing because there's been so much speculation about what's been going on, and honestly, of course, nobody knows. So I didn't want to do a video that was just going to be adding to a lot of the noise or the fear that was kind of like connected to all of the speculation, and I really had to do a deep dive into if the information that I had received, if it had value of any kind, or if it was, again, just going to be adding to the noise. But because the information I received felt positive, I did decide to do this video if it is going to bring any level of comfort to somebody that is kind of swept up in all of the what if fear porn that is connected to it right now. So, CERN. What the heck is going on at CERN? Now, if you guys are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Faye. I receive information by meditating. So not only do I meditate, but I really take the time to clear any of the thoughts that I have going on in my own mind that are going to slow down how the information comes in, and just kind of create like this really blank canvas, so to speak, that I can bring the information into. So I will not research a topic in advance because that's just going to give my logical mind means to question the information as it comes in and slow it down. So I have not done any research on CERN. This is just what I've either channeled currently now, or anything that I've kind of picked up like anecdotally through social media or like conversations that I've heard. This is not like a deeply researched and analytical video. If that's what you're looking for, stick around. This just might be something you really end up enjoying. So, CERN has not been in the news for about 10 years. They were first in the news, as I recall, back in, I think, 2012, because they had discovered something that they were calling the God particle. Dun, dun, dun. I know, I'm sorry, I had to. Like, the God particle, dun, dun, dun. Like, it calls for that, okay? Don't be a hater. So they discovered what they are calling the God particle back in 2012. Now, kind of interesting, right? The deep dive that I had done, the behind the veil deep dive that I had done on CERN, is that everything they do there, their entire intention, their entire motivation is to usurp God's power. The reason for that is, so there is, on some level, anytime something is being done scientifically, there is kind of this separation, if you will, of church and state, right? People in the scientific field are not necessarily looking to prove the presence of God. They are just very scientifically oriented. They might be really, I don't know, maybe cool Christians, like in their personal life, but they're not bringing that into their work as scientists, right? So there always is going to be this separation of God from science on some level. But what CERN has done behind the veil is their entire purpose is actually to disprove the existence of God, because then they can feel unencumbered with their creations because it's not at odds with God. What I mean by that is that here on earth, we are limited in what we can actually do. It's a very heavy and dense existence that we have here. And we don't necessarily have, you can't like go out necessarily and look for miracles and be like, ah, I see God, there he is. God is veiled to some extent when we are here. And that's why our faith is so important, because we have to believe in something that we cannot see. But by usurping the existence of God, what they are trying to do at CERN is to play God without being at odds with God. We're also limited with what we can create here on Earth because of this heavy, denser environment that we are living in. But if you say at CERN there is no God, then they are in a way trying to say we then have all the power that we can create with. So what they're trying to do since 2012 is to play God. Now, the purpose of that also is that because they want to play God, they don't want to bring in the energy of God, because again, that's at odds with what they are doing there. So all of the work that is being done there is done devoid of God. And again, as I said, a lot of science is separated from God, but it's not, the intention of it is not to disprove God. It is just the scientific process. It's the scientific method. CERN is completely devoid, of course, of God. They want to disprove God. That is why their discovery in 2012 of what they called the God particle was so huge for them, because they said, aha, we have it. We can now create just as God does. Doesn't exactly work that way, but we'll get to that. Okay, now, as I've discussed in some of my other videos, and go back if you want to kind of check that out. So I've discussed that portals are naturally occurring. They're naturally, or at least they were naturally occurring. They were naturally occurring in places like deserts or any area that is not very developed by man, because that changes like the energy of it. Or just an area that's very high vibration. And any place that's in nature is a higher vibration environment to begin with. As man, and this is not trying to get into like a commentary on like what we're doing to Earth or anything like that. If you want to have that conversation, like, you're gonna have it with your own. I'm not gonna like engage in that. That's not what this video is about. It's just a observation that what we have been doing on our time on Earth is that we have been developing it. So these areas that are untouched by man and higher vibration areas for these portals to occur are less and less naturally available. So what CERN wanted to do, and this is, I think, what a lot of people were scared they were actually doing now when they are back in the news and they were powering it up, was that they were creating a portal. So let's just get this out of the way. There are already naturally occurring portals on Earth. They've already opened a portal. Ta-da! Don't you feel so much better knowing that? Okay, they opened a portal in 2012. It's not something that they discussed back then. They shared their discovery of the God particle because part of that was aha, look what we've done. We've done something remarkable and amazing. Don't ask questions about the other things that we have done. They opened a portal in 2012, okay? Now, again, because they are usurping God's power, anything that they have brought in from wherever they brought things in from has been devoid of God. So if they brought entities in, they have been godless entities. Any of the research that they've done there has been to disprove the existence of God. Now, what's also interesting is when I was receiving the information that they had opened a portal, because they it's a man-made portal that they've opened. It wasn't, and I guess you could say this is the problem when you play God. You don't really know what you're doing. Sometimes it's good and maybe sometimes it's not so good. But how it was shown to me was, if you think of an accordion, you know, an accordion is something that you can kind of like, and I don't know how to play an accordion. I think it's a musical instrument, right? I don't know. But it's something that can be compressed or expanded. So what was shown to me was what they had done in 2012 was, when they opened this portal, it was not done evenly or in balance. And what actually happened is, if you think about when you're compressing the accordion, on one side, it closes in its entirety here, and then on the other side of it is it's open and it expanded. So what they actually did was, when they opened this portal, they opened it in an uneven way. And if you kind of like look back over the last 10 years, energetically, it kind of feels that way. It kind of feels like in some ways of life, things feel like it's really like, timelines really feel like they've sped up really, really, really fast. Like, so much has changed in such a short amount of time in some ways. And in some other ways, it feels like life has almost come to a standstill. And that's because of what they had done in 2012. When they opened it, it was done unevenly, where some of it was compressed, i.e., life and development has slowed down there. And in some ways, it's really, really, really sped up, where it doesn't even feel, it almost feels like you could be on two separate Earths or two separate existences simultaneously. And that's because of what they had done 10 years ago. So what happened now in 2022 was, they have righted energetically what they had done 10 years ago. This was not, again, they want to play God, right? So they didn't do it willingly. They didn't want to do it. What I actually saw was, prior to this happening, was that energetically CERN had been swept and cleared of all of the research and all of the information and everything that had been done with the intention of usurping God's power and to make godless creations. All of that has been destroyed. All of that information, all of the energy, all of the attention, everything that was done with that in mind has been cleared. And the people that are now running it are of a higher vibration, because the intention is just as important as the creation. Like, if you think about it, the way it was also shown to me is like a blessing over food. Some people will make a blessing prior to eating because they want to acknowledge and also set a correct intention prior to consuming the food and raising the vibration of the food. So what was done prior to them writing what had been done in 2012 was, they had to clear out all of the lower, denser energies that were present in CERN, so that way they could write what had been done, setting the intention and also raising the vibration. So what they did now, where everyone was, you know, kind of worried that they've opened the portal, is they actually righted what had been energetically done, not in accordance with God's creation and God's laws. They righted it now. So now it was shown to me, if you can imagine like a ladder. Imagine if, you know, you can raise a ladder up. So one of the ladders was broken down in the corner on the most basic level, not had been expanded in any way. The ladder next to it had been expanded. So it was creating like this imbalance of flow. So now what they did was this ladder that had been broken down has been repaired, and it has now been expanded as well. So now it's allowing for the energy and the information and everything that had kind of been stopped, that has now been righted to where all of the information and all of the energy can now start flowing again properly. So what was done now was to bring balance back, because for the last 10 years, there has been an imbalance in the energy. Now, what I also saw, and this is what they had done in 2012, unintentionally, they actually were collapsing timelines. And the way that that was shown to me, and again, guys, the reason that I share this is because if it's shown to me this way, and I do this when I'm doing my sessions with clients as well, I don't filter the information as it comes in, because the information is not for me. It's for whoever I am doing the reading for. So I give them everything as it comes through, and they can take notes on that and they can make sense of it. And very often I will hear from people that either they'll have an aha moment then, or that night, or 2 days later when they're reviewing the notes, but they do have those aha moments. So I'm not gonna filter what comes in, I'm just gonna share. It's not just like, hey, I like to talk a lot, so I'm just gonna bloviate. It's actually very awkward and uncomfortable to record yourself. But I do feel it's necessary to share behind the veil information, so that's why I do it. But back to my story. So the way that it was actually shown to me was, if you have like a controlled demolition, the floors, as they collapse from the higher levels down to the lower levels, they collapse one on top of another. So they don't collapse from the bottom up, they collapse from the top down. So the layers or the floors are getting sandwiched and compressed as it goes down. So because they were doing this, trying to usurp God's power and without God, and because they were playing God, they actually were collapsing time. I know, it's crazy. I still think about it. I still look at it and I'm like, it's just weird, y'all. It's weird. But they have been collapsing time since 2012. And I think what they were trying to do was to bring the end days in 2012. Because again, part of the usurpation of God's power is not just to, it wasn't enough to disprove God, but it was to say we can not only be so powerful that we can destroy time, we can destroy mankind, we can destroy everything because we are now God. It's crazy. So they have been collapsing the timelines for the last 10 years. So again, that's part of the reason why there was some wrongs that had to be righted. And as it was shown to me was they've actually created quite a mess over there. And energetically, it has to be built back out to allow for time to go on the way it had been intended prior to what they had done in 2012. Now, this is not like where you have workmen arriving on a scene and they have their blueprints and they have their machinery and they... No. This is, again, behind the veil. So how it was shown to me was a black expanse of space with energy being directed into these collapsed timelines. So basically what they've been doing, excuse me, is imagine if you were watching now a tape of a controlled demolition where you're seeing the building come down from the top to the bottom. You're watching it in reverse. So now it is going back up the same way it had come down. So they're energetically, you can't, they're not reversing time. What they're doing is energetically building back up that which had been brought down. And another way of putting it is breathing life back into something that had been devoid of life. So everything that's been happening now at CERN currently in 2022 has been positive. So I think what's going to be really interesting is going forward now in the next couple of months or even year or so, is to see if it feels like there's been more balance here on Earth. Because if we kind of, go back to what I had said a few minutes ago, some areas had really developed like on a fast track, and some areas had slowed down almost to a standstill or a full standstill. So to kind of see now if it feels, or if we can observe it, if it feels and if it is observable that there's more of an equal flow of attention and energy and balance being brought back to the world. Does it feel more energetically aligned? Does it feel like everything is kind of developing together? That's going to be kind of interesting to see. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited to see what the rest of 2022 brings globally for us. What the next, I would say even until 2025. Like, I think it's going to be, let's see how this video ages. Because 2025 for me has felt like a real, like everything's going to feel wonky until then, but 2025 is going to be a real turning point. So let's see, guys. I'm curious. I don't know about you. I'm super excited for what the future is going to have in store for us. I hope if you've watched this video, it has brought some level of comfort if you have been swept up in a lot of the uncertainty of what's been going on at CERN. If this video has resonated with you, great. I'd love it if you can like, share, subscribe, comment down below. And if not, take what has, leave the rest behind. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for watching. And until next time, stay in the high vibration.